I guess it's a question for government about whether they want to actually have an industry that supports the future growth in this country or not. Universities deliver on skills training, we deliver in communities, we are anchor institutions that provide important jobs across the length and breadth of these islands. And so, in a sense, if we're talking about the kinds of things that I seem to be hearing from Andy Burnham about improvement of conditions in local places, universities are great ways to do that.
A new study from the University and College Union suggests that 42% of its members would be more likely to support Labour now Andy Burnham is at the helm. But the poll also found that respondents were more likely to favour the Green Party's education policies. Let's talk to Mark Pendleton, University and College Union Vice President. A very good afternoon to you, Mark. What do you think it is about Mr Burnham that makes him more appealing to university staff at this very early stage in his prime ministerial career?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think the survey we've done of our members shows that there was a lot of optimism about a Labor government and people feel let down. And I guess what people are saying is that Burnham offers an opportunity to reset that relationship. And people are willing to look again at Labor if they're going to deliver for university workers and workers in the other sectors we represent, so educators in colleges and prisons as well.
Is it basic pay that they are looking at? Is it working conditions? Is it accountability? What is it?
I think we're looking at a crisis across higher education. So in that case, we're looking at the massive loss of jobs. I mean, just last week, the British Academy found that over 40,000 jobs have been lost in the last few years, just in the humanities and social sciences. And we're looking at many, many more jobs lost across the sector. So there's real concern there around job security. For our further education members, it's a question of pay and conditions. So the average college lecturer earns £10,000 a year less than the equivalent people teaching in schools. So there are real issues looking at different parts of the education sector that the government needs to get a grip on, and our members just feel like they haven't. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with Bridget Phillipson's control of the education as Education Secretary, for example.
Yeah, now I wanted to ask you about that. Tell us a bit more about that specific dislike of the person and whether or not you think that a change in personnel will actually change minds amongst your members.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's about anything about Bridget Phillipson personally. I mean, in many ways, it's been encouraging to see a government that's willing to listen to us and talk to us more. The problem is about whether words can be turned into action. And what we haven't seen over the last couple of years under Bridget Phillipson's leadership is a government willing to grapple with the crises affecting post-16 education, whether that's underfunding of further education, or that's starting to change a little bit, or the massive amount of course closures and job losses across one of our leading expert industries, higher education.
Do you think that those things that you are asking for are ever going to manage to work their way up the worksheet of priorities when the funding for students has become such a crisis issue for a government?
I mean, I guess it's a question for government about whether they want to actually have an industry that supports the future growth in this country or not. Universities deliver on skills training, we deliver in communities, we are anchor institutions that provide important jobs across the length and breadth of these islands. And so, in a sense, if we're talking about the kinds of things that I seem to be hearing from Andy Burnham about improvement of conditions in local places, universities are great ways to do that. And we're also developing the future skills that students and future workers will need to help the economy and society into the future.
Sure. Now, tell us a little bit more about that. It's possibly something that we aren't talking enough about, the way that tertiary education can play this vital role in preparing students for a changing workplace environment. I mean, to be honest, Mark, can you keep up?
It's a good question. I mean, ultimately, we're not training for the immediate skills that people need now. What we do in universities, of course, is give young people the ability to adapt, to understand how that they can change and adapt to changing environments that they're going to be entering into. We're developing critical thinking skills, the ability to understand how you might relate to changing technology. So in a way, it's not about can you use this particular tech now? It's about, do you have the capacity to engage with the changing world and to bring those critical skills we'll need to be dynamic into the future?
Sure. But I mean, an awful lot of students do now try and factor in employability to the course that they're choosing, and an awful lot of universities will tell you a lot about their employability ratings. And in a sense, what you're expecting then as a student is when you leave the university, you do have the specific skills to lock into a job. What we hear at the moment is this very frightening horizon for new graduates of, the jobs just not being there at all anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk to employers, they often say that they want graduates who are able to adapt. They're not saying necessarily they want immediate skills that they can apply in the immediate context. I mean, the classic example, of course, is the growth of large language models and artificial intelligence. In a way, we're going to need to have people who can understand how to relate to those kinds of changes, and that isn't necessarily about specific identifiable skills that may be redundant in 5 or 10 years' time. It's about the kinds of wider training and education that we provide that shapes the way in which people approach the new challenges that they're going to be confronting.
And Mark, university campuses have recently been places where some very decent people have found their voices can't be heard. Tensions around gender have definitely risen. Free speech on all sides seems problematic. Jewish students have, for instance, felt anxious to even be there. How connected is all of that to who leads a country?
Well, fundamentally, universities are places of critical inquiry, and they should be places where we are engaging in debate within the law, right? So there is a kind of line there. But fundamentally, I think what the biggest challenge we're seeing to opportunities for freedom of speech and academic freedom is the massive amount of jobs that are being lost across the sector. If we are undermining those critical fields like humanities, social sciences, and so on, then we are undermining our ability to develop the kinds of frameworks of debate that shape what we need going into the future.
Are you a humanities graduate yourself, Mark?
I am actually currently working in a language-based area studies department. I'm currently at risk of redundancy, so this is all very real to me as well. So my union role sits alongside that substantive role I have teaching Japanese history at the University of Sheffield.
Teaching Japanese history at the University of Sheffield. What a fantastic course. Very best of luck to you, Mark. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us this afternoon. That's Mark Pendleton, University and College Union Vice President.